Hey, welcome back. My name's Justin. So every year I go to NAMM and I always make a recap video where I just show myself with a smartphone on a gimbal, walking through NAMM, showing off like the cool stuff that I saw. I take hours of footage and I cut it down to like 20 minutes or something. There's a lot of semi-useless instruments or stuff that's just like, why would I buy this when I can go to Guitar Center and buy something for a quarter of the price? Or like some instruments that are just way too crazy looking for no good reason. And some people kind of wonder why this is. So I want to break down exactly why a lot of the NAMM videos that you see are just stuffed with kind of useless instruments. That's coming up. But first, today's video is brought to you by edrumcenter.com. If you're shopping for electronic drums, go check out Edrum Center first. They're a great drum store based in Tennessee that focuses on electronic drums. They got a knowledgeable staff, a lot of really good brands to choose from, and it also helps out the channel. So check out that discount link to them in the description below. Okay, so reason number one why there's so many weird and sometimes useless instruments and products at NAMM is that it's a form of advertising just there to get you to stop and look at the booth. How many comments do you get about this gold keyboard?
A lot.
A lot.
And that's not what we're selling. We're selling wheels, but this is big.
Advertising.
Marketing.
It may not look like it, but NAMM is absolutely massive. I realize it used to be bigger in 2005 or whatever, but the reality is there are thousands and thousands of companies there and tens of thousands of instruments. So I'm going to walk past your booth unless you have something interesting that draws me in, either because all of your instruments are like some weird or wacky idea, or there's some sort of showpiece, like a $20,000 guitar right there that gets me to stop and then look at your normal products. And so that's basically what these companies have to do. They need to make a reason for you to stop and actually, talk to them. And sometimes they have products that are a little bit hard to explain. So just seeing something with wheels, you're like, okay, whatever, and you walk past. But if they have something like a gold keyboard out front that gets you to stop just, for 5 seconds and look at it, then they can explain, hey, we have these, these wheels that you attach to drum sets or amps to help you get an off stage really, really quickly. Those little things actually really make a big difference to these companies. The second reason why there's so many weird and sometimes useless products at NAMM is that videos aren't very reflective of reality. Because there are tens of thousands of instruments and there are thousands and thousands of companies, the fact of the matter is most of the stuff that you see is very, very normal. Yeah, there's weird stuff, of course, but that's like a smaller percentage of the whole thing. A lot of the guitars that you're looking at, they look like Martins or Yamaha guitars. A lot of the drum sets that you see could have been made by Pearl, or the cymbals could have been made by Mile or whatever. So what you see is just the weird stuff. If I'm going to walk through thousands of booths, I'm going to take a photo of not the normal looking stuff that I could see at Guitar Center any day. No, I'm going to take a photo of something kind of weird, wacky, and out of the ordinary. But of course, there is weird stuff at NAMM, so what's another reason? The next reason is that sometimes what you're looking at is a collector's like limited edition thing, or it's a sheer like art piece that doesn't even have strings. Like this guitar just has a ton of nails driven into the neck of it. You're not supposed to buy that and play it. It's meant to be hung up on a wall somewhere. Meanwhile, there's other guitars that are like $20,000, which I guess obviously you can play them. They're going to sound amazing, but really they're also going to be hung up on a wall, maybe behind glass somewhere. You're really intended to play this every day and go on tour with it. It's more like an art piece at the end of the day. And of course, there's going to be people making comments like, why in the world would I buy that guitar for 20 grand when I can go to Guitar Center and buy something for 500? That's the same sort of argument you could make to somebody if they go to a car meet and see some sort of weird tricked out Lambo. You're like, I could buy a Toyota Corolla. Of course you could, but that's not the point. It's supposed to be weird for weirdness sake, or beautiful just because they want to make a really cool looking instrument. All right, so the fourth reason is that a bunch of inventors attend these conventions, and sometimes they buy booths and show off some sort of weird product that they invented that they think everybody will want. Here's the thing. I don't know if you've ever sat down and had a conversation with an inventor. They think out of the box. And sometimes they think really, really far out of the box and they just have weird ideas. And so they sometimes will throw thousands and thousands of their own money at an idea, hoping to get distribution or for a company to buy the product idea from them, or to get customers if they want to sell directly to somebody through their website. So sometimes what you're seeing is just an inventor somewhere that had a weird, crazy idea, and there he is trying to promote the product. But of course, the next reason why you see some weird stuff at NAMM sometimes is that maybe it isn't as weird of an idea as you think. You're just not the target audience, and it's kind of a niche product. So for example, let's just take this company, Big Johnson Bass. Every single year he's there, see him every single time. He makes some really interesting basses that I personally wouldn't buy, but I'm not the target audience. And obviously his company's probably a little bit on the smaller side, but it has a customer base that keeps him going because he shows up every single year. So I'm assuming that the company must be doing well. But just because you personally wouldn't buy a product doesn't mean the product shouldn't exist. And one of the really cool things about going to a convention in the first place is that at the end of the day, Guitar Center can only hold so many products. Sweetwater, if you visit Sweetwater, they can only have so many pianos in the lobby, okay? And if you watch YouTube videos like mine or other people's, we can only talk about so many products. There's always going to be some like sort of weird little niche products out there that slip, beyond the cracks, and you would never even know they existed unless you went to a convention and saw them in person or had a ton of friends that just buy musical instruments all the time. So it's a way for you to learn about products that you just don't know about. The next reason why you see some weird stuff at NAMM sometimes is that you're seeing custom builders a lot in these conventions. And custom builders can afford to make a product that they're only going to sell 2,000 units, 1,000 units, whatever it is. I don't know the exact math. Meanwhile, if you're buying a drum set from Roland or a keyboard from Casio, they can't afford to build a product that's only going to sell a few hundred units. It doesn't make monetary sense for them because the company's just way too big. But meanwhile, if you have under 10 employees, or maybe it's even just you custom building every single amp cabinet or whatever, you can afford to charge really high prices and appeal to a kind of customer that is really into some sort of weird, instrument that you're currently making. So that's the reason. There's a lot of custom builders that make very, very custom limited edition stuff, and they're making products that the bigger companies won't and also can't make. And a good way to wrap this up is that, in my head, I think that NAMM has just a little bit of car show DNA. Basically, you've got the stock stuff, like the Ford Model T that has barely been driven, has not been touched, there's not a new coat of paint on it. And then you've got the weird, wacky stuff that people are building just because they can. I think that NAMM still has a little bit of that, and I love to see it. And as always with in-person events, try to attend these because it is an experience. Just like you wouldn't say, I don't need to go to the car show because I saw a couple of car videos on Instagram. It's not the same thing. An in-person event, it's an experience. You get to meet other enthusiasts. It's a really good time. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.